What's up, everyone? Today, I want to teach you how to charge more money without working more hours. And the reason that I decided to sit down and record this is recently on Instagram, I shared some wins that my clients had, and people were pretty surprised. I shared just over the last 2 weeks, one of my clients, he closed a $96,000 deal twice. Another one closed a 25K a month retainer. The second one also closed a 25K a month retainer. And then another one closed a $53,000 project. Okay, so obviously, when you talk about bigger numbers, most people understand like four-figure projects, maybe even low five-figure projects. Once you start getting up into these big numbers, I think a lot of times it confuses people as to how it is possible to charge this much money. And the thing that really shocks them is when I tell them what my clients do. Okay, so this client, podcast production. Okay, not 296K deals. This one, designer, graphic designer. This one, marketing for blue collar businesses, a specific niche. Okay. Last one, web developer. All right. So none of these are particularly crazy skills. And the reason I'm recording this video is because I posted this and I got all these questions. Okay. Well, what niche are they in? How do they get their clients? What are the deliverables? How does it work? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to explain all of that and hopefully help you get to the next level and think through some limiting beliefs that you might have about how to actually charge more. Okay. So this video is going to be best for entrepreneurs who are doing six figures, right? You're probably like at that 600K to 200K block, which is a lot of people they end up there. But you can't figure out what to do next because the only path forward seems like, all right, I guess I just got to work harder, right? But the secret to putting up these big numbers is not what you think, because I know all of these clients super, super well. None of them are magic. They're all totally normal people. They're not doing anything crazy. They're not doing a bazillion times more work in order to charge these big projects. And the deliverables are actually less than maybe what you would expect. And I think most people think that like to sign really big deals, you have to work super, super hard. And don't get me wrong, I want to get this out of the way. All of these clients are really good at what they do. Okay. But at a certain point, that's table stakes, right? And there's plenty of experts that are stuck not making enough money. So what I want to talk to today, and my audience for this, is for those experts who have these skills, right? But how do you take your skills and package them in a way that creates the most value in the marketplace? Okay, because you are probably just as skilled as these clients. I mean, they're great, but don't get me wrong, like a lot of people are great. And you're probably still not putting up the big numbers because you could be. All right. So this is going to be about how to charge more without working harder. Let's get into it right off the bat. Okay. So the first concept that you need to understand, and if you're following me, this is not something I've never talked about before, but you need to make a shift from selling deliverables to selling outcomes. And generally, what that looks like is there's kind of three levels that you can go. All right. So at the bottom is deliverables. That's what most people are familiar with. Deliverables are going to be like the thing that you get, right? But there's actually one level above that, which is ideas. And deliverables you charge 1x. When you sell ideas, you can generally charge 2 to 3x. But then the final level that I hope all of you aspire to get to is selling outcomes. Okay, and the beauty of selling outcomes is you can charge 10x the price. And most people don't understand this. I'll give you an example to see what this looks like. But you're still going to do deliverables. You're still going to do ideas, right? Like deliverables plus ideas equals outcomes, right? So most people think, oh, sell outcomes. I guess that means I don't do any deliverables. Well, how do I do that? Isn't that just consulting? No, you can still do deliverables. Okay. The thing is that they're tied to outcomes. So the way you want to think about it is really deliverables plus ideas equals outcomes. Most people like slowly kind of get there and they end up here, which is still selling strategy, right? Once you go, we're gonna do a strategy workshop or whatever. But this is where all the money's made. Okay. And the key here is that you need to choose where to shine the spotlight of attention during your sales process and during your engagement to determine whether your client sees you as, just a deliverables person or whether they see you as an expert who is responsible for creating outcomes, right? And the strategy here is to connect the outcomes. Maybe I need to draw this. You want to draw a connection between the outcomes and the problems and goals that your client has. Okay? That's the secret. Making a connection between these two things. And we'll talk more about how to do that in a second. But let me give you a really practical example. This is like the one that I use a lot, but I think it makes it really, really clear how to transition from selling deliverables to selling outcomes. So I have a client, she's great, pitch deck designer. Okay. And when she first started, her kind of description was like, I'm a designer, right? And over time, we were able to shift that to pitch deck designer. Okay. So that is still very much deliverables based, right? We're still in the deliverables pricing. But as you can see, you might be able to get a bit more of a higher price multiple for it being a specific expert at delivering a pitch deck as opposed to just, your regular designer if you were to go on one of these marketplace websites or whatever. So next level, right? I sell pitch deck strategy. Okay. Yeah, you can definitely sell more. A regular designer, I don't know, $5 an hour up to, I don't know, 100. Pitch deck designer, maybe 20 to 150 an hour. Pitch deck strategy, I don't know, 5 to 15K, something like that, just off the top of my head. So you see how the shift from deliverables to ideas is already good, right? You should be making that shift at a bare minimum. But where the real magic happens is when you focus on outcomes. And what we ended up doing is getting to the point where what is being sold is the outcome, which is what they get, right? So the outcome of a pitch deck, the desired outcome, is what? Closed deal. Okay. So when you are focusing the spotlight of attention on the outcome, which is the thing that you're aiming towards, instead of just the thing that you do, which is pushing pixels around the screen, which still happens either way, you can charge much higher prices. Because let's say, okay, a closed deal to a startup is worth, I don't know, $10 million, right? The difference between a yes and a no is $10 million, right? And if working with an expert whose expertise is in creating winning pitch decks, and they have a track record of doing that, doesn't mean you win everyone, right? But you have a track record of doing that. Okay, what happens? Well, you can say, well, probably hiring this person is going to increase the likelihood that we close the deal. And as a result, you can charge much higher prices, right? 50 grand, 100 grand. The sky is really the limit, you know? Okay, so that's the secret, right? You want to go from deliverables, which is what you do, to ideas, which is how you think, to all the way over on outcomes, which is what they get as a result of the things you do and how you think. Great. Okay. I want to clear up the last misconception that a lot of people have when it comes to selling outcomes, which really confuses them. So we can get this out of the way now. You probably have already thought about it. Outcomes. Okay. But Rich, how can I guarantee that an outcome is going to happen? You can't. Right? Okay. So outcomes are what we're aiming towards. Okay. They're the goal. But the thing about outcomes is they involve risk, right? So if I could guarantee that you make $1 million 100% of the time, how much would I charge for that? Yeah, I'd probably charge you $1 million, right? Because there's zero risk involved. A 100% chance of $1 million, the price is $1 million, right? Yeah. So outcomes, how do we sell them when we can't guarantee them? Well, first of all, there is the discrepancy between value and price. And generally speaking, we want to be at like 10 to 20% price to value. ratio. Okay. So you're not going to charge all the value that you're going to capture because there is a thing called risk. Peter Drucker said all profit is derived from risk, right? So the outcomes are what we're aiming towards. Okay. But how do you base your outcome, right? How can you have conviction in your outcome? Well, you have past experience, right? Some people call this testimonials. Some people call this case studies, right? You have past experience succeeding. So a lot of the way that you can start thinking towards outcomes is instead of looking forward and trying to extrapolate into the future, look backward and see what have you done in the past? What outcomes have you gotten for your clients? I can't tell you how many times, I have a client that's like, on a $1,000 or $2,000 a month retainer. And then I ask them, well, like, how's that working out for your client? And they're like, oh yeah, they're making millions of dollars off of me. Like, oh, okay. Well, one, you should charge more money. Two, that's an outcome that we can speak to that's based in reality, right? Okay. So outcomes are based on past experience and they are not guaranteed. Okay. They are not guaranteed. Sometimes people will do performance based where they get a piece of the outcome. We're not going to talk about that, but that's an option. But there will be things in these outcomes that are outside of your control and outside of your client's control. That is the reason that there's risk, right? All these things that are risks, right? Macroeconomic conditions, like the platforms that you're working on. You can't control if Facebook's going to, I don't know, delete your client's account or something like that. Okay. But what we can promise, and this is the key distinction here, is there are outcomes, and that's what we want to be selling because we have the past experience, right? We know that there's not a guarantee, but there's value-based pricing in effect. Promises are what you can guarantee. Okay. Now, what can you guarantee? What can you control? You can guarantee a specific deliverable that they'll get. I guarantee that you will get 10 social media posts, 15 YouTube videos, a functioning website. I guarantee that, you can guarantee your time. I will show up for our scheduled calls every single time, on time, ready to go, performing at the highest level, right? So these are things that we can promise. Deliverables, time, that are within our control, that we have 100% control over, right? Deliverables can be tricky. Sometimes the client is involved, but like, let's assume that you would be comfortable guaranteeing that based on them performing what they need to do. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is step number one. And this is how you can get your prices to go up from 1x to 2 or 3x to 10x and beyond by selling outcomes. And I'll got to tell you, all these people, that's what they're doing. Great. Let's talk about the next one. This is a really big one. Okay. Number two, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. I probably spend like anywhere from 6 to 10 hours every week talking to entrepreneurs. Like just that's the only, like straight up. Okay. And a big thing that people believe, and they maybe can't necessarily articulate this, but I've noticed it, is they have a big belief that's holding them back from charging a lot of money. And most of us assume that the path to success is the byproduct of suffering. Okay, so I want to teach you this. Success is not suffering. Okay, doesn't mean you don't have to work hard, but you need to deprogram this belief because here's what happens. We have beliefs, things we believe about the world. Sometimes we're aware of them, sometimes we're not. We have ideas, and then we take actions, right? Well, chicken or the egg, generally speaking, the beliefs that we hold tend to create our ideas or our thoughts. These are going to be like thoughts, emotions, things like that. And then those often turn into actions. It's just a simplified model. You can probably Google some other ones that are more advanced. And then, our actions over time shape our beliefs based on the data that we see as a result of our actions, right? So if you believe that the only way to make more money is to experience more pain, i.e. work harder, your nervous system is going to make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay. This is the key lesson here. So many people are maxed out in their business. They're like, I'm working as hard as I can. I'm working as many hours. And the only way to make more is to just put more hours in. I don't have any more. Your nervous system is going to be like, we're not doing this. This is not allowed. Okay. So what I'm giving you today is a path some new ideas and maybe some new beliefs behind that about ways to increase the amount of money that you make that don't revolve around the number of hours that you're working. Now, they may be new skills, there may be new things that you have to pick up, but generally speaking, these are some new ideas for you. Okay. But this belief is very dangerous that if you believe that success equals pain, your body will protect you and it will let it not happen. Okay. But you need a practical system to do this as well. So if you want to reprogram this belief that success doesn't have to only come from hard work, you need a path to do that. Okay. And there's basically two paths that you can go down if you want to do this. And we're going to spend most of today just talking about one of them. The path that we're talking about today is value-based pricing. Okay. So you are pricing based on the value that you're creating and you're capturing a fair percentage of that. If you want to scale with price, which is what this is called, how to charge more without working more hours. Okay. I didn't call this video how to get more clients without working more hours. Charge more. Okay. Just price is what we're talking about here. But there is another option. If you don't want to scale with price, the other thing that you can do is scale with marketing. I have another video about this. You can find it. But I don't recommend that if you're listening this far, you probably do it. Because scaling with marketing basically means that you have fixed fulfillment. Okay. So you're not involved with fulfilling whatever you sell at all. And all you do is market, like your entire business is market. Whereas here we're saying, I want to stay in the work. I want to be close to the clients. I want to be close to the work. And as a result, I want to continue to grow. So the way that I do that is by increasing price and increasing value. Okay. If you're an expert, scaling with marketing is probably not the best choice because generally people that are experts like to do the thing that they're expert at. Yeah. Okay. So big one here. We're going to continue to go deeper on how to increase the value that we provide in the next couple. All right. So what do I have? Three more here. Okay. The next shift that needs to be made, okay, is how you are perceived. And I'll give you a really, really simple way to do this. So there's a difference between someone who is an expert and there's someone who's an order taker. Okay. And what does an order taker do? What are they responsible for? Deliverables. Okay. If you're an expert, what are you responsible for? Shocking outcomes, right? How do you know whether you're being perceived as an expert or an order taker? Well, it has a lot to do with how your clients treat you. And as a result, the perceived value of the work that you do. And a really, really quick litmus test. And then I'll show you in the next two how to be perceived more as an expert. Is to just ask yourself this question. This is really, really, really simple. Okay. Answer yourself this. Do your clients tell you what to do, or do you tell your clients what to do? Okay. So if your clients tell you what to do, you are an order taker. Okay. So when you get a project and someone calls you up and they say, hey, I need a website. Okay. I want it to look like this. We need this many pages. You're an order taker, right? And they're probably interviewing other order takers to see who can do it for the least amount of money. On the other side of the thing, do you tell your clients what to do? Well, that's an expert, right? Because there's trust there that you have some deep expertise. All right. And guess what? Experts can charge a lot of money. Order takers will always be competing because by definition, an order taker is going to be more of a commodity than an expert. If you know anything about markets, if you're easily replaceable, your value is lower. Okay. So we really want to, if you want to charge more money without working more hours, you need to be asking yourself, how can I be perceived more as an expert? What can I do to master that? The good news is I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. The big piece, there's two things that you want to focus on here. All right. So you want to focus on mastering sales and you want to focus on your positioning, ITIONING, sales and positioning. So we'll go in reverse order and we'll talk about positioning first. Okay. So positioning equals how you are perceived, right? It's what people think about you. Sorry for the spelling. How you are perceived. When you're listening to me talk, do you perceive that I am an expert when it comes to this topic? Well, I would assume so. I've done a couple of things that would lead you to believe that I'm an expert, right? I talked about clients that I work with and past results that we've had together. I seem to know what the fuck I'm talking about. I am sharing things with you that you maybe haven't heard before. I have a somewhat strong point of view about these things, right? All these ways that we present ourselves um, are our positioning, right? And positioning builds trust. Okay. So, how you present yourself happens over a lot of different places, right? So I mentioned how you show up, right? This is marketing. Believe it or not, like, this is marketing for my business. So I'm showing up in my marketing as an expert. I'm also showing up when I talk to prospective clients, as an expert. And my positioning is also, you know, expert driven when we talk about price, right? So you can show your positioning in your marketing. You can show up in your sales, which we'll talk about in a second. And of course, in your price. Okay. So, how do we make this transition? I'm going to give you a couple of quick bullet points that you can think through. I cannot give you everything that you need to know about this here because it's going to take longer than I have to record this video. But I'll give you like the Cliff's notes. Okay. So, expert, right? We want to be expert. I can't spell. I am not an expert in spelling. Couple ones. Okay. Number one, confidence and conviction. Do you want to spend a lot of money on someone who doesn't seem like they believe in what they're doing? Yeah, I wouldn't either. Okay. So this is one of the biggest ones. And I really, when it comes to confidence and conviction, I believe that the first sale is to ourselves. If you are not convicted and confident in the work that you're doing and the value that you create for people, it's going to be very difficult to convince them that it's in their best interest to work with you. Okay, so belief is a really big one. Maybe I'll do a whole video on this at some point, how to increase confidence and conviction. I'll give you a little quick one. Go back and look at some of your past wins. That should give you some confidence and conviction. Talk to some of your favorite clients. Ask them. Okay. Number two, all right, we talked about positioning, but as Itining, as it pertains to how you show up in the world, so on the marketing side of things. Here's a perfect example. If your website says, I'm an order taker, you're going to get order taker clients. If your website says, I'm an expert, you're going to get expert clients. Okay. And when you talk about big clients, which I'm going to talk about, the last point is going to be about how to get better clients. So stick around for that. You really need to look at like what message are you putting out into the world. So, I think back about like some clients that I've worked with in the past, in a mentorship capacity. And sometimes their website is like, do you need a designer? Start your next website. Okay. Like that's all well and good, but that is very much in the realm of deliverables. And we want to be in the realm of outcomes. And as you continue to scale up, I was looking at this, like, I mean, you got to speak the language of the clients that you want. And like, I'll, I screenshotted a website that like personally I think the messaging is like insane and stupid, but it's actually genius because this is what big clients resonate with. Okay, I'll explain it in a second, but we'll put a pin in that. I have a screenshot. I'll read it to you. Okay, so next one. What is the context in which they come across you? Okay, so if you're finding someone showing up on like a marketplace site, so Fiverr, what are the other ones? Upwork, stuff like that. Um, Generally speaking, like when you're on a marketplace site, what do they sell on markets? Commodities, right? So your client is probably going to think of you that way. Versus if you come in off of a relationship or off of a referral or meeting them or showing up as an expert, they see you, I don't know, speaking on stage or something like that, or they see your podcast or something like that. So the context in which they meet you is going to be really important as well. Okay, going down the line, what else do experts have? Well, they have a strong point of view. This is a big one. Like it's important to have strong beliefs, not even if they're right. Like the example that I always think of is like sportscasters, right? They always ask them, like, if you watch football, like the football season just started in America. Um, at the beginning of the game, they're like, "All right, Howie, and all the other guys, who do you think is going to win? We need your predictions, right?" Experts make predictions. Alan Weiss, in his book, what's it called, Million Dollar Consultant, says this: experts make predictions, and it's not so much about being right, but it's about having a point of view and some beliefs about the world. So if you don't have a point of view, a unique belief about your work, like just to take it meta, I obviously have a point of view about the types of businesses that I like and I think are great. And they are small one person businesses, tiny team, scaling with price, high profit. You probably feel that point of view. Okay. Two more. Niche. This can obviously be valuable. You can fall into your niche backwards. You can pick one. I think it's better generally to organically discover a niche than to pick one. I think you miss out on a lot of opportunities if you're not following your intuition there. Don't have a ton of time to talk about it, but worth saying. And then the last one, of course, is your brand. And your number one brand is your name. Okay. So make sure that people know it. All right. These are all ways that you can be perceived more as an expert. The more that you do all of this stuff and improve this, what do you know? You can charge more money. All right. Um, Last thing I'll say is sales, because I did mention that that was the other one here. So sales, right? Well, how does an expert show up on sales call? Well, you use your sales call to demonstrate your expertise. And most people think that the way that they demonstrate expertise is to give people free samples of their expertise. And that could not be farther from the truth. The way that you demonstrate expertise is by asking good questions and showing how you think about it. It's not like giving away free coaching or whatever, right? Um, so how do you do it on a sales call? Number one, you must be the person leading the sales call. Not, you want to be interviewing the client, not the client interviewing you. Okay. Second one, this is such a great term, confrontational curiosity. Basically, what this means is you are not going to let the client just tell you what to do. I have this Instagram post. It's, clients are not going to pay a ton of money to have you tell them that everything they're doing is right. Okay. So confrontational curiosity means you're not just servicing them, right? Servicing them is being a yes man or a yes woman or a yes person, right? You want to be serving them. And serving someone doesn't mean just saying, you're right, you got it, right? Serving someone at the highest level means, calling out what you see and being honest. Okay. So confrontational curiosity is a huge posture that you need to hold on a sales call. Okay. Last thing, being really clear and getting to the bottom of what the problems and goals of the client are. This should be 50% of your sales call, is just asking questions about this right here. Okay. Because the goal here, as I mentioned, if we scroll all the way back up here, um, yep. Outcomes are going to be connected to the problems and goals of your client. So if you're not uncovering that on the sales call, you're not showing up as an expert. All right. Last thing I'll say here is, since we're talking about sales, okay, Rich, well, what about, like, when do I write the proposal? When does the proposal fit into this? And all the time I'll have people ask me, they're like, "Hey, Rich, I need help with this, client. They asked me for a proposal. How do I close the deal?" Well, generally speaking, if you're at the point where they asked you for a proposal, you probably already screwed something up. We're already too far gone. You need to be doing specific stuff on the sales call. The deal is 80% done by the time they're asking you for a proposal. They've pretty much made up their mind already. And there are going to be things that you need to do to show up as an expert on the call in order to get to the place where it's closed. Okay. So I don't have the time to go into all this right now, but I will say this. If you are not asking the client for a yes directly, if you're not talking about money directly on the call, and then they ask you for a proposal at the end, like, you're not in a good position. You want to be getting a yes or a no on the call, or at least like a verbal commitment or a conceptual yes, which is what I like to call it sometimes. Okay. So if you can master sales and positioning, this is going to go a long way. Okay. And then the last one, which I'm sure you're all very excited about hearing about, is so just to recap, If you want to make more money without working more hours, i.e., charge more money for the same amount of work, number one, you need to sell outcomes, not deliverables. Number two, you need to rewire this belief that the only way to make more money or to succeed is by suffering. Okay, and on top of the belief, there is a path, right? It's not just like wishful thinking. There is a path to do this. Okay, number three is we need to shift from being an order taker to being an expert and being perceived that way and dealing in the world of outcomes. Okay, four is we need to up our positioning game and our sales game. And then finally, well, sometimes you just need better clients, right? And the best example that I can explain for this is you really need to be working with clients who have large enough vehicles to capitalize on the value that you create for them. Simple example, 100K client, they make 100K a year. Let's say you can improve that by 10%. Okay, what did you do for them? 10 grand with your skill set. What about a $10 million a year client? Let's say you still move the needle 10%, right? That's $1 million. Okay, same work. People don't believe that this is true, and I have seen the evidence a million times, right? People don't really understand that for the most part, 90% of their expertise is transferable from the 100K client to the $10 million client. Yep, it's true. It's true. So like when I show up, I have clients that are doing 200K a year. I have clients that are doing 2 million a year. I don't like have some special brain that I turn on for the $2 million a year clients, right? It's the same advice. It's just about the vehicle that they have, right? So when my 2 million client applies it, they're probably going to make some more money than the 200K one, but I don't have special advice that I hide from people. Okay. The same way, like if you're a designer, right, and you apply your expertise, if you apply your strategy, if you apply your thinking, you apply like your taste, you know, you're going to apply the same stuff to both of these clients, but this one is going to benefit dramatically more than this one, just based on the vehicle that they have, right? So maybe if you can only work with so many clients because you only have so much time, you should focus on how to get better ones. Okay. And where most people trip out on this is they say, well, yeah, I need better clients, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how, Rich. And then what do they do after that? Stop. Okay. When you say, I don't know how to do something, there's two things that you can do. And there's a difference between keeping you stuck or moving forward. Okay. If you say, I don't know how to do something and you stop, you're going to have a bad time. If you say to yourself or to me, I don't know how to do something, that should be like the path. You know that book, The Obstacle is the Way? When you say, I don't know how to do something, that's the way, right? Go in here. This is the way. Okay. So next time you say, I don't know how to do something, yeah, you should probably, instead of being like, oh, that's a bummer, maybe someone will just tell me what to do. Okay. Learn how to solve it yourself. Okay. Easiest way to figure out how to do something that you don't know how to do, TBH, is to just talk to human beings. Just talk to people who've done what you want to do. It's the fastest way to do it. It's like literally cheating. It's so easy. I do this all the time. A lot of you don't know this, but like I've had a variety of past lives doing other stuff. At one point, I was a pro gamer. I got really, really good at this game called Hearthstone. You can actually look it up and watch me on YouTube. Traveled around the country, won a bunch of money, won prizes. It was really fun. You know how I got good at it? Yeah, I just found the best people in the world and I asked them to explain to me how they're doing it. Yeah. Okay. So whenever you get this, I don't know how to get better clients. Well, maybe talk to someone who has the clients that you want. Okay. I will give you some tips. Wow. Okay. So first thing that you really need to focus on, this is a big one. Surface area of relationships. Okay. All the best clients, as you get bigger and bigger, they come from meeting humans. Okay. Human connection. if you are not having at least one meeting a week with a new potential client, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Um, One of the things that I did before I started recording this video was I actually sat down and I was like, okay, all these clients, you know, what did they do? Like, how are they in terms of lead gen? How do they find their clients? And the one thing that all four of them have in common, because it is completely different how they do it, but what they all have in common is they are all talking to new clients every single week. Okay, the difference between the people that are doing like, I don't know, 10K a month or whatever, six figures, which isn't bad. And these people is they are making conversations and lead gen part of their weekly process as opposed to just waiting for referrals to come in. Okay, that is the key difference. So listen, if you want to grow and have better clients, I recommend taking 60 minutes out of your week to talk to a new human every week. Okay. And to really get after it, like some of the people up there, like talk to 3 a week. One of my buddies, John Courtney, you can look him up. He's the CEO of AJ and Smart. He was just talking about this on his podcast. He's like, okay, well, what's the job of the CEO? Like, what's the job of the founder? What do they really do? Well, you're like the promoter for the business. And how does a promoter promote? Well, they go out and they talk to clients, right? They go out to talk to customers. So if you're not being the chief promoter for your business and you're asking yourself, how do I find better clients? Well, you're not even trying, you know? Okay, so all my clients that are closing these bigger deals, they're having regular contact with their ideal clients. Okay, to make this meta, since I've used myself as an example, I'm doing that right now too, right? I'm having a conversation with someone who may be an ideal client. And maybe you're deciding that, oh, Rich could help me. He did say he kind of knows how to do this stuff, and I could work with him. Anyway, this is the point. Okay. At the end of the day, all you really need to do if you want to grow your business without increasing the amount of hours that you're working is to scale with price. Okay. And the way that you scale with price is by going from deliverables to outcomes. It is by retraining that belief that success has to equal suffering, shifting to being an expert, mastering sales and positioning, and then scaling up and getting better clients. All right. I hope this was super, super helpful. Right now, if you're watching this and it's the week of September, whatever it, doors are open to work with me. So hit that link below if you're curious about this. Basically, you need to be making 6 figures and we can work together to take you to the next level. All right. Hope this helped. I'll talk to y'all soon.